If you opened up the game today, you'll notice that we do have a free gear removal that's going on right now. So we have, for the next 3.5 days, roughly 100% gear removal cost at the time of recording this, which is kind of in the middle of the 19th, but this is going to go live on the 20th of March just for frame of reference. So with that in mind, this is hands down the best time for anyone to come onto their account and do essentially a gear cleanse, because we do also have a gear enhancement event going. But more importantly, this is also the time essentially to, first of all, if you're trying to vault champions, so if you're trying to get champions into your reserve vault, you can simply just take them, say, hey, into the reserve vault. You can move them, and then you can take all the gear off, which is a requirement for free. So that's pretty handy. You can also obviously move gear around between champions for free. And then finally, if you're stuck inside the Cursed City, you can come in here and you can freely switch around gear on your champions as well. This S8 is really messing me up, so if anybody has suggestions on how to clear this, that'd be fantastic. I don't have the best gear on these champions yet, so maybe that's something that we'll have to do today, of course, and we'll see. We'll see if we can get around to that. I am going to be going through with the Hell Hades Artifact Optimizer here on the second screen as well, so you can see essentially how I'm building champions, what sort of stats I'm prioritizing, how I'm using the optimizer, all those sorts of things, especially on a late game account. I think this will help a lot of players. There's going to be no gear cleansing side to it this time, just simply because I have already done that and I'm fairly low on silver. So we're probably going to be trying to enhance gear as little as possible, essentially, although I do have to cleanse out some of the new stuff I got. So the first thing I'm going to do inside the Hell Hades Artifact Optimizer is that I'm going to come in and I'm going to take a look at which champions are locked. The reason for that is whenever I'm doing an optimization, I always tell the optimizer to use all gear, excluding champions that are locked with a priority of 5. And that's just so that I don't mess up builds that are being used, for example, Hydra, Clan Boss, those sorts of things, so I can essentially just, keep this gear on them, simply put. So there's definitely some champions in here that we're going to be taking off the list, I think. So Varl is going to be one of those champions. I don't really use him anymore anywhere. Zenogre and Fushan are both heavily used. Archer's used. Necmo, all of these are looking good. I think Alatreon we can actually take off of this list because I don't really use him a whole lot anymore. So let's just go ahead. Let's get him unlocked. We're going to keep going through the list of locked champions here as well. Taking Alatreon off is definitely going to give us some more tanky pieces that we can use too, so that's going to be pretty handy. Deacon Armstrong, I don't think I really use anywhere anymore. He's not like inside my Clan Boss team or anything like that, so we can probably go ahead and unlock him without too much of an issue. We have Farrakhan, Stagnite, all of these champions I'm using. Miscreated Monster I'll go ahead and unlock. I'm not using him anywhere that's important. Allure, maybe same thing. I don't really think I rely on her anywhere, and she does have, decent accuracy and speed gear, so getting rid of her lock would be nice. Canilia, I don't need to have locked. Claude Breastfeeder, we don't need him locked either. Same thing with Gory, actually. I'm not using Gory anywhere that would be incredibly important. Same thing with Basher. Basher's not in use inside any of my teams. My Clan Boss team right now does not involve a Deacon Armstrong whatsoever. He's been replaced by Fushan, so I can go ahead and unlock both of those champions, essentially. Keep scrolling through here. Painkeeper I'm not using anywhere specific. Renegade I'm not using anywhere specific. We do have Eris inside the Clan Boss team, so I will not be unlocking her. She is definitely needed to stay locked. Tolf is used inside my Phantom Shogun. I'm also thinking about potentially unlocking Pytheon, actually, because that's a lot of really good tank gear. He is in protection set, but I don't really use him anymore, so I think Pytheon will go ahead and remove the lock on him just so we can potentially use some builds. So what we're going to do here first is we're going to go to Lady of Irith. And the reason being is my Lady of Irith, I'm trying to use inside the Chimera. Both the Nightmare as well as Ultra Nightmare levels of Chimera. I'm probably going to have a more detailed Chimera video coming out, but she is built out inside Reflex as well as Refresh accessories. So we essentially just want her tanky with certain stats being met. Right now I think she's not quite as tanky as I'd like her, and she's a little bit slower than I'd like as well. So I think we'll try to get both of those increased. And then, of course, if we can get her into a a bit more accuracy so that she can land, for example, her Brimstone, that would be perfect as well, because I am trying to use her in Brimstone. So speed, I would like to go for about a 250. Resistance, I'm not incredibly worried about that, because if we think about Nightmare Chimera or Ultra Nightmare Chimera, the resistance is going to be quite high, so we are definitely going to build her with survivability in mind. Let's try for a 275 on the accuracy along with this and just see what we can hit. If I go to sets, we want to make sure that she is in a reflex set as well. That is essentially one of the keys to how I have her built. It does add a little bit of RNG, and in here we're going to select to include artifacts on locked champions, just not ones that are locked with a priority of 5, because those are going to be, again, my important champions that I can't really, so we get nothing as an option. So let's go ahead and change this up a bit. We'll see if we can get 225 on the accuracy. 250 resistance should still be fine. Let's go ahead and see if we can get a build now that we have 50 less accuracy in there. She is inside Bulwark Masteries as well, so she's not in, like, any sort of accuracy increasing like Eagle Eye or anything like that. We could get this build here, which would make her significantly faster, but we do lose 26,000 HP. We get very marginally more accuracy, so I think what I'll do actually is I'll go to the accuracy and I'll just remove this as a requirement. And then I want to still try and keep the 250 for the speed. We'll go ahead and clear this and try again. We'll try for the 250 with resistance as well. Now, if you're curious, the 250 with resistance is basically like nothing, essentially. So, if you're trying to actually resist stuff, you're probably going to want higher than the 250. I do have her built out inside refresh accessories as well. So this might actually be an upgraded amulet, because yeah, she's in a crit damage amulet right now. As you can see, I have 1.82 million silver though, so yeah, this one's straight up going to be an upgrade in pretty much every way for her. So we'll put that on for now. We'll go ahead and take a look here. So we do actually gain a little bit of survivability here. We gain more speed. We lose some accuracy. We lose a little bit of resistance. But I think this will be pretty much the exact kind of build that we're looking for. And as you can see, a lot of the gear actually, so at least 2 of the gear pieces are coming from Pythion. So it's definitely a good thing that we unlocked him. So let's go ahead. Let's go to here. Let's go to equip in-game, and hopefully this works. It does. Absolutely fantastic. If you're not familiar, right here, just go ahead and equip in-game, and you'll be good to go. So the other thing I'm going to do here is I'm going to equip in Optimizer, just so that the Optimizer knows that I have this build. So we'll go ahead and put that on her. Now, she does have decent HP, 4,184 defense, 250 on the speed, 260 on the resistance. So this is going to be pretty swanky, I think. Inside Cursed City, obviously, you can see she's getting some bonuses. She's a really, really nifty champion, so I think she's going to be serving my account quite well. We do, of course, have the reflex set on her, which is giving us a chance to reduce the skill cooldowns. And then we have, obviously, the refresh accessories on there, too, that give us an extra chance of doing that. And we are going to be setting her to a priority 5 locked, because, again, she's going to be in my Chimera team, and I want to make sure that she's able to survive. So that is pretty important. Now, we're also going to go ahead and check out He-Man here. Because He-Man I did just build recently. So he's inside a 4-piece stone skin along with essentially a lethal set. So we'll go ahead and do damage here. Stats, we want him to be at least, what is he currently for speed? I don't really want to lose speed or anything like that. So currently he's at 268. So we'll put that in as our minimum requirement. And then for resistance, he is at 289, which isn't a whole lot. So we're not really too worried about that. So if we'll come over here, we'll go to sets. We have lethal at least at a 1 count, and then stone skin at a 4 count there. So we'll go ahead, we'll optimize this as well, just to see if we can get essentially any sort of an increased damage. Again, when you have a free gearing event going on, this is your time to really go ahead and say, hey, I want to re-gear my champions. Hey, this is the time to do it, essentially. So we'll let this run for a little bit here. It is going to take a bit of time, just since we do have it set to also include banners and everything like that. So you can see it's only like 7% done at this point, which is pretty crazy. It definitely takes some time to go through your account. You can actually see my, due to my screen capture up here too, it's using like 80% of my GPU to try and do this, which is pretty crazy because I have like a 3060 or something like that. which, you know, these days at least isn't the best, but it's still a very decent GPU, obviously. So let's just go ahead, wait a few moments for this. I will, of course, be able to upgrade gear too. Probably not on camera, though, because I'll just use the RSL helper to go through and do a bunch of forging. I have a bunch of pieces that I can go and forge, and obviously gear cleanse and all those sorts of good things. So we're not completely out of luck, which is nice. Just waiting for this to do its thing. It's at like 22% roughly. We'll go ahead and pause just so we can start to view these. So with some of these builds already, you can see that we're losing resistance and we're not really gaining attack or anything like that. We're not gaining speed, so it's very interesting that it's even suggesting these. I don't know how we're going to get more damage essentially, but this might just be like its preliminary, hey, here's a damage build kind of thing. Again, with these, we're losing attack. We're gaining a bit of speed here. Crit rate, crit damage goes up. So it's interesting that this is the first build, even though this one's stronger, right? Like, but it says we'll lose damage. I guess we're losing way more attack, so that makes sense. But yeah, so let's go ahead, wait for this to do its thing. A few other things we'll talk about while we're doing this here. Let's go ahead and take a look. So obviously He-Man, I just want to double check and see what kind of a build that we can get on him. My Sun Wukong, I will run through the optimizer as well, though I am pretty happy with his build. So he has 6,600 attack, 291 on the speed, and an almost 300% crit damage, which is pretty insane. He is my fastest damage dealer, most attack on my entire account, essentially. Marius, we have inside a Merciless set. I would love to get Marius into a 9-piece Merciless, right? Because getting that 15% chance of an extra turn is going to be so important. But the problem with that is, at least for Skinwalkers, I don't actually have a Merciless banner at the moment, which is just insane. We have one of the stone cleavers here, actually, which is pretty cool. But yeah, no Merciless banner on this account for my Marius, unfortunately. I don't have incredibly good Merciless gear either. I've definitely been skipping out on farming a lot of City of Centranos, which is a bit of a shame. We can actually come in here and just start selling some of these more trashy gear pieces that we're not really interested in, though. I'm kind of at the point on my account where I'm not really interested in keeping, you know, like 6-star stuff if it's a rare, even unless it's like, you know, speed boots or something like that. So let's take a look here. We gain a bit of attack. We gain some speed, we gain some crit damage, so this build overall is looking pretty good so far, and as you can see, we do actually have a difference to the damage there as well. My He-Man isn't even fully mastered out yet either, so any sort of a damage increase we can get would be pretty incredible. I think what we'll do is we'll get Retribution, and then I wouldn't mind getting Deterrence, because it makes it a little bit better to go against like any sort of CC teams, but I wouldn't also mind Blood Shield on him just for more survivability, essentially. 15% of his max HP. I don't think he has a ton of max HP though. Yeah, so he has 54,000, so it's going to be, what, like a 6,000 shield? Definitely nothing too crazy. I think he'll be better in the counterattack masters, in all honesty, so we are roughly 160 away from having him fully mastered out too, which is pretty cool. Optimizer's still running. Says that it's about 88% done, which is pretty nice. So we'll just keep giving it a few moments there while we look at the other champions that we might want to rebuild. I do have my Leorius built as well, but you know, he's not in anything too crazy. Good crit rate, good crit damage, good attack on him, but he isn't in a damage dealing set really, so he's just in Zeal. And then he's in Cruel, which is basically the best DPS sets I could find, unfortunately. Might take a look at my Taurus as well, because I do have him now in a 4-piece stone skin. The only issue being he's not in a DPS set apart from that, so he's not in, like, for example, you know, lethal or anything like that. So I think we'll take a look at the Taurus as well. Now, let's go ahead here and see what it has for the He-Man build. It gave me everything that I have on He-Man, so that's pretty cool. What a build. It's essentially just saying, so if we fully upgrade everything and then fully glyph everything, we'll have a better build for him, essentially, because, you know, there's some pieces in here that we probably don't have full glyphs on. We don't have full ascensions here, or proper ascensions, or anything like that. So the He-Man build is good to go. It's the best that we can do right now. So we'll go back to champions, and we will, I want to check actually if Magnar is locked. He is. I really don't use Magnar at all, so I'm going to take him off the lock, because I'd be perfectly fine pulling gear from him. We're going to get Taurus. We're going to go to Optimize. We're going to go to Damage Mode. And we're going to take a look at our current Taurus stats because he is a little bit slow too. So he's at 236 on the speed there. So let's see if we can go for a 240. Let's go for at least a 285 on the crit damage. Resistance and accuracy we're not really too worried about. Sets, we're going to go here. And we're going to add a stone skin of at least a 4-piece set. Right there, at least 4 pieces, please. Let's go to configure, include, oops. Let's go to configure, include priority, not 5 though. So let's go ahead and do that. Let's go to optimize and start. Again, as always, this probably is going to take a little while just because we're, optimizing for banners and everything like that too. So we'll see what we're able to do here essentially. And then I am thinking about switching my blessing as well. Although I don't have a free blessing switch right now. I had him in Heaven Cast originally because Heaven Cast obviously increases the damage he does according to the number of buffs on him. But that was mainly for PvE, so I'm not really interested in that anymore. I've been thinking about a few different options here. So obviously one of the primary options would be something like a Lightning Cage. Could also go with like Ward of the Fallen too, right? Ward of the Fallen would be pretty cool. Essentially it's just decreasing the damage he would receive from a single hit. So if his stone skin does get stripped off and then somebody tries to slam into me, I could essentially just kind of rely on Ward of the Fallen. Life Harvest wouldn't be terrible. I sincerely wish that I had a higher awakening for him because he's only 2-star awakened right now, which doesn't really do him a ton of good. Like you can see he's getting an HP and an attack bonus, but if I were to get him obviously preferably 3-star awakened, 4-star awakened, so I can get the crit damage bonus. That'd be pretty insane. And then if we ever manage to get him 6-star awakened, if I should ever get that lucky, we're going to be running him in polymorph pretty much without question, I would say. I do have the golden elixir on him right now, which isn't really doing a whole lot of good. He doesn't get an extra turn. Turn meter increases 5% faster when he's forced to miss his turn. That could be interesting, just because if he misses his turn due to a fear or something like that, I think that'd be a good way to go, or stuns, or those sorts of things, especially with how slow he is. In terms of the masteries, if you're curious, I do have him in Retribution and Deterrence, and then obviously coming down to Helm Smasher. And this is all just a bunch of yapping while I wait for essentially the builds themselves to finish. So let's go ahead, let's take a look at this build. So this build will put him into, again, a 4-piece stone skin. This is all the gear that's already on him with the exception of one shield being different. So this is a very nice shield actually. HP, accuracy, double roll into speed, and then a triple roll into crit damage with some glyphs on there. That's pretty crazy. So let's go ahead though, see if the build is able to come up with anything better than that. I do wish I had better relics to equip as well. Like even if I go into equipped relics, you can see I don't really have too much. Like I have a bunch of journals, and I made a relic tier list not too long ago where I was talking about just like how good the journals are, and I absolutely stand by that. Little spoiler if you haven't seen it yet, but the journals go into the S tier, so they're pretty good. I have the Cat's Gaze, which is on my Marius, so I need to level up that a little bit more too. Cat's Gaze wouldn't be the most useful on, obviously HP nukers, because it's only helping you ignore defense if you're doing damage to somebody that has like a higher max HP than you, which there's a lot of champions that won't have a higher max HP than Taurus, obviously, right? So the optimizer's still running. You can see my GPU is still chugging along at around 80% there. Freya, it would be interesting to try and rebuild as well. She does have pretty decent stats though she has like pretty much 0 accuracy. It would also be interesting to get her into a damage build, I think. I do have my stone skin Ancora here, who's pretty decently built as well. So she's got some decent speed, decent HP, decent defense, all that sort of good stuff. Ninja is definitely potentially in need of a rebuild as well. Obviously, we don't really have him in a damage dealing set, and we just kind of have him in, whatever I was able to throw on him essentially. So he's struggling. He's literally still in crit rate gloves, which is insane. Quintus is somebody that I'm actually thinking about building out inside 2-turn stone skin as well. I don't have like a high awakening or anything like that for him. But the 2-turn Stone Skin could be very, very strong because essentially he just does a lot of stuff that he'd be very good inside Stone Skin. So obviously on his passive, he's dealing additional peer damage. The amount of peer damage is equal to 10% of the target's max HP for each buff on them. So, you know, if you're attacking somebody that is under 4 buffs, which isn't entirely unheard of in the arena, his skills are going to do an extra 40% max HP damage, which will ignore shield as well, which is pretty insane. We definitely want to run him inside, obviously, Lightning Cage, I think, to do it. There's some weird interactions, though. So Lightning Cage doesn't always seem to protect Stone Skin, which is something I found weird. So I don't know if there's just a miscoding with the interaction. I get that it's only a chance, obviously, until you get it leveled up, but I'm not even... Yes, okay. So, it's definitely a bit weird. So Lightning have a 50% chance to protect, and then up here they have a 75% chance to protect. So it never goes to 100, I suppose. So just a lot of RNG being introduced, right? So I think building him out to potentially counter some of the picks that I'm facing inside the live arena, and we'll go there real quick too, actually, and take a look. So as you can see, inside my battle log, for example, some of the defeats that I'm going against, I'm really struggling against, like, obviously these tankier kind of team comps, right? So like your Sifis, Duchesses, Marius is a big one, all those sorts of things. So he's fully mastered out already, he's fully booked out, everything like that. We do have a finish on the Taurus optimization, so let's go back to Taurus here. Let's get into him, and then let's go ahead and take a look. So this is the build that it wants here, so we're essentially just switching out the shield, so we'll go ahead and hit equip in game. Now, this shield is a doozy. Look at this thing. Accuracy, double speed, so 18 plus 4, 22 speed on this thing. A bunch of HP, right? Like, what is that, 15% or so? And then 22% crit damage on there as well. That's insane. So definitely a nice little bit of a boost for him. I think he's a little bit faster now, so 139 instead of, I think it was 136 before. Decent HP, and then we're getting closer to a more acceptable crit damage there as well. I'd definitely like to have him over the 300% crit damage. The one big thing that's holding me back, though, is the fact that obviously we don't have him inside any sort of damage dealing set. So if he was in, for example, Stone Skin plus Savage or Lethal or those sorts of things, our damage numbers would just go, you know, dramatically through the roof, essentially. So it's a bit of a shame that we don't have that. Let's go ahead, though, and let's take a look at getting that Quintus built. So let's go to Champions. Let's go to Quintus. Let's go to Optimize, Damage Mode, Sets. We want to include a set, and we want it to be Stone Skin, right? And we want it to be at least a 6-piece worth of Stone Skin. Stats, we can definitely build him a little bit lower if he's in 6 pieces of Stone Skin. You know, maybe we want to try for like 350 resistance. Speed, maybe we'll try for like 240. Something like that. So the 350 is obviously not going to resist any sort of stuff coming in from, like, you know, for example, a Crixia or a Warlord or those sorts of things. So I'll still have to be careful who I run him with, but the no results were found. Damn, just straight up. It seems to be frozen. Oh, there we go. Now it's doing something. It's working on it. Just give it a moment. But yeah, I was going to say, you still got to be careful who you run him with, but it should still be enough resistance to help, you know, get around stuff like Sun Wukong Strip and other damage dealers that strip and those sorts of things. But you also have champions like Galathier that are coming in these days that just say, you know, screw you, essentially, to any sort of resistance builds that you might be trying to run. So it's kind of hard to, you know, optimize or build around that sometimes. So we do have some decent builds coming in here so far, it looks like. What sort of stats will we have on him? I'll just go ahead and pause this so I can look at these. So we'll have like 4,700 attack, 165 crit damage. That's pretty terrible. I hope it gives us a better build than that, because that's insane. 191, a little bit more respectable. I think the high resistance is really what might be cooking us, though. And again, that's not even like really high resistance, obviously, but I just don't have very good Stone Skin gear on my account. And as you can see from like my Taurus, I'm already using quite a bit of Stone Skin gear for damage dealing champions. Same thing with He-Man too, right? So Obviously, if I built my He-Man before my Quintus, I would have significantly better stone skin gear to go with that. So that's a bit of a shame, certainly. But it is what it is at the end of the day, I suppose. We'll go ahead. We'll keep looking around at different builds and whatnot here. I'll show you guys something too. I think the Chimera might be down right now, so I might not actually be able to show you. No, we can still take a look here. So this team here, we'll go to Nightmare actually. So I set a PR at 206 million, and this is the team that I was able to do it with. So if you're struggling with Chimera and you just happen to have some of the best champions in the entire game, well, there you go. There's a team for you, right? So kind of funny in all honesty, in my opinion, but you know, if you have the 3-star Awakened Marius, you're pretty much off to the races regardless. Collect this, actually. I got Weak Retort. What does Weak Retort do? I haven't seen that one before, I don't think. Go to Gemstones. Weak Retort. Wearer receives 15% less damage from counterattacks. That'll be pretty good for a tank champion, especially somebody that might be going against like a, I don't know, like a Carnage or something like that. I could see it being pretty useful. I wouldn't mind trying to rebuild my Mikage either, just because she is definitely a little bit on the slower side at 347 for where I want to push inside Live Arena. And I haven't been picking her a whole lot either, so, you know, I do have her inside Polymorph because she does have decent amounts of accuracy, so, you know, that's certainly nice as well. And I do think we could do better, realistically. We can probably get more accuracy, probably get more speed. You can see that her turn meter... Journal of Necrotos, does she actually benefit from this? I don't think she really has a turn meter increase, does she? So perhaps I'm wasting that. So, use their default skill. Yeah, I don't think she has a turn meter increase anywhere. So I am just kind of wasting that. She's essentially decreasing the enemy turn meter. So what I'll do actually while I'm here is I'll go ahead and I'll switch her to this Tempest Sanguinius, which means that her turn meter reduction effect will be boosted by 15%. And then what I'll do is I'll go down to my Senna, who I just recorded a guide on not too long ago. And then with that in mind, Senna is now actually going to go ahead and get this journal, which is going to make her absolutely insane, I think, because of her passive. So that'll be pretty strong. I am thinking about mastering out Lady of Irith inside War Master as well, just since I'm using her predominantly inside Chimera. Quite a bit happier with this build, though, certainly. I think she's going to perform a lot better inside that piece of content, which is quite nice. We could also potentially bring her down on the accuracy side of masteries here, too. In case you're wondering, we are still running here. Let's pause. Yeah, 211 on the crit damage. It's definitely starting to figure out some better builds for our Quintus there, which is quite good, so we'll just let that keep doing its thing. And another good thing to check here actually would be if there's anybody that I'm wanting to send to the reserve vault, which I think there honestly probably is. So first place to start would be a lot of the champions that are just faction guardians. I want to send Adeline back there. I was talking about her the other day and I was rating her. That's why she's out. Both of those champions are going to go to the reserve vault. Honestly, Frozen Banshee I'm probably going to keep out. Renegade, though, I can't tell you the last time I used a Renegade, so I think she's going to go to the reserve vault. And then that'll give me a bit more speed gear to play with on my account, too, because those are, you know, 6-star speed boots and whatnot, so that'll be pretty useful. Kale, I haven't used in quite some time, but every so often he does pop up in like a, you know, a faction-specific tournament or something like that. Cardinal, haven't used in forever. I think I'm okay vaulting her. Let's go ahead and get them sent to the reserve vault there. And then let's also go ahead and take a look and see who else we can vault here, if anyone. Gizcard, I just straight up don't use, so I'm okay vaulting him. Excruciator, kind of same thing. She doesn't even have gear on her currently, which is good. It'll make this whole process a little bit easier. This guy, actually, I think his name is like Ater or something like that. He's actually pretty useful for some of the City of Centrano stages, so I will keep him out. I don't really use Helm Smasher anywhere, but she is built decently well, so I'll definitely keep her out, I think. Just kind of scroll through the rest of these. Obviously, the empowered champions, whatnot, are champions that I do use, so we'll go ahead and keep them. Speaking of which, I want to take a look at my empowerment champions. So, if I get a whole string, I'm obviously going to be empowering my He-Man. I don't have a Tunisia, and even if I did have a Tunisia, I'd probably be keeping her for use, essentially. So, we'll take a look at the epics here. Rector Drath, I do have another empowerment available for her. On my epics, the Faction Guardians are completed for basically all of the factions where it actually matters. So there's some of them that are not completed just because I need certain speeds and everything like that for certain champions. So obviously we can't really do that. I did have an Ursala as well, the Mourner, but I ended up feeding her because I needed another chicken, so that's a bit of a shame. In case you're curious, this is how we're going so far. This is looking to be the best build, so 216 on the crit damage, 4,500 on the attack. Definitely, you know, not something that's too crazy, certainly, but that's also prior to glyphs and everything like that, right? So it is very possible that we can get more attack on him. And again, with Quintus, you're really looking for that bonus damage, right? So he can still potentially do some work. As you can see, people aren't too high on him apparently, but yet he's one of the hardest hitting champions inside the game if you set him up properly. So even on an A1, attacks one enemy, places an extra hit if they have no buffs. If the attack is critical, repeats the attack once. So this is potentially a 4 times hitter guaranteed if the enemy doesn't have any buffs, right? And then on top of that, you use him inside, like, you know, Chimera, use him inside Hydra, those sorts of things. He's going to do a 2 times hitter on the A1, but it's going to have max HP damage associated with it as well. And then he has an irresistible buff strip, and then a decreased defense before attacking, right? So even in the arena, if you have him going against, like, you know, a team that has some sort of buffers on it, so like those Sifis and stuff like that, if they don't have protection set and the buffs aren't protected, you can just strip those buffs and then place the decreased defense. It'd be a bit weird if you're placing an increased defense on the enemy team for them, but you know what I mean. And then obviously his damage cannot be decreased by enemy passive skills or masteries, so that's going to essentially just help to mitigate somebody like Harima, for example, which would be pretty nice. So really getting around that. The only thing that would make him, like, you know, insanely better is maybe some sort of an extra turn mechanic, because he does have the reset cooldowns, but his cooldowns are so damn long. Like, this is a 4-turn AoE, and this is a 3-turn single target, and then he has the A1, right? So it's kind of like, But the thing is with his passive, his skills are going to deal additional pure damage, so that's also his A1 is counted in that, I believe. So potentially doing a lot of damage there. Obviously it's always a bit weird to see how they have, like, obviously the champions breathing, but then while they're breathing you can very clearly see their armor getting stretched, right? So it also looks like this face is breathing, which is kind of funny to me, but maybe that's just me. We're almost finished here, 90% complete. It looks like we will be going with a very similar build. So 243 on the crit damage, 357 on the resistance. Again, not a terrible build in all honesty. Only 4,300 attack on that though. And then obviously this is not inside any sort of a damage dealing set. So unfortunately we're not going to have him inside, like, you know, and we actually have an attack. Okay, that's probably where a lot of our crit damage is going then. So let's take a look here. Inside our stone skin option. So let's go to equipped, right, for this particular faction. Do we have a crit damage amulet, even one that's not leveled up? We do not, it would appear. So that's where a lot of our stats are going then. So, you know, all things considered, that 243 crit damage is pretty decent then. We have a resistance banner going on him as well, which, you know, we don't really have banners from this faction, so I think it's something that I'll build him out in for now. But obviously, he could be built a lot better. So as soon as I get some sort of an amulet that has crit damage on it, or even if we can get crit damage ascension or something like that, obviously he's going to be significantly improved. So the builds have completed here. This is going to be the strongest build that we can go with, so we'll go ahead and equip in game. Might take a second. I went ahead and hit it. Let's see if it's going to do the thing. It doesn't appear so, which is a bit of a shame. Let's see here. Equip in game. Are you going to let me? Oh, there it is. Oh, it's pulling gear from Taurus. What? Taurus is locked. No. We waited all this time just to pull gear from Taurus. That is pretty crazy that it's also pulling like HP based damage dealer gear for our Quintus. Oh, that's crazy. So we'll have to relaunch the optimizer essentially just to make sure we don't pull gear from Taurus. So let me go ahead and do that here real quick because it was updating, but not enough apparently. In terms of this, we'll go ahead and hit equip in game. Which again is probably going to take a second. There it is. We're going to do take off. We're going to do take off, take off, and take off. And then we can equip this, which will at least give the artifact optimizer kind of a baseline. So then we'll go over here. We'll go to champions. Go to Quintus. Optimize slots. We can now disclude this and this. And then let's go ahead and hit, yeah, sets of stone skin. Perfect. Why did it reset that? So we don't want that to be applied. There we go. Configure. And then if you're not aware, excluding the banner and excluding amulets and those sorts of things makes the optimization significantly quicker. So as you can see, we're already halfway done it, whereas you've seen how long it took us to do it last time, right? So it's just absolutely insane how much of a difference this makes. 165 on the crit damage. That is pretty terrible, people. That is pretty terrible. So 171. I think this honestly might be the build that we'll take. Let's go ahead and equip in-game here. This gear is just going to kind of come from random places, it seems. So we'll equip in-game. Perfect. We'll have to level this up at some point. A resistance chest plate. Really? This is the best that we could do? Are you kidding me? From supersonic resistance chest plate. Oh, that is terrible. That hurts. We do want high resistance on him, so I suppose that makes sense, but he really just has like no attack now, so even inside supersonic we don't really have any other. Well, we do have this one, an attack chest plate. Less speed on it, though, but I think we'll go ahead and try this one on. That one makes a little bit more sense getting the attack scaling on him. So we'll go ahead and do that. That's our Quintus build for the time being. He's going to hit like a wet noodle, obviously, because we have 3,600 attack and 125 on the crit damage. Let's go ahead. Let's take him into like an arena battle just because I'm curious to see how bad this is. So let's go with like a regular speed team here. Let's take out that, and then let's bring in our Quintus, and then as well our Tiramisu. Let's see. We should be faster than this team, so that'll be fine. Should be, at least. They are actually quite snappy. We'll go ahead and we'll boost our Quintus. Now he's going to do his AoE. Boom. Oh my god, that is terrible. Oh, this guy just did 15k damage to the Arbiter. Oh my god, that is rough. As you can see, my my stone skin gear is just absolutely like stretched to its max, especially when it comes to accessories and stuff like that. Let's do the A2 on the Arbiter. That one hit a little bit better, 44k, right? Nothing too crazy. Oh my god, that is terrible. So obviously, he's not really going to be viable for use, and he's just going to be kind of like a pick him last if I really desperately need some sort of an attack-dealing champion. Such a shame. We don't have a fully leveled up amulet or anything like that. So again, once I have more, silver and I can level this up a bit more, that's going to be significantly better for us. Nishak is in quite a weird build too, where he actually has crit rate, not much attack, not much speed, because I was using him as like a solo champion. So we do have to rebuild him at some point, which I think honestly that point might be right now. So we could do like Nature's Wrath, which would be pretty cool. Obviously using some other stuff would be pretty decent as well on him. So we could do Lethal Dose, which might be a good way to go. 50% extra damage from poison debuffs. Obviously he places the oh, what's it called? He places the bombs, which then turn into poison, so that could be good. We do have a decent amount of pinpoint gear from this faction as well, but we just don't really have, like, you know, good rolls for it, though. This is a nice banner. We're not really worried about, like, crit damage or anything like that for him, so let's go ahead. Let's just lock our Quintus, right? As embarrassing as that is. Let's go ahead and upload to website on the Hell Hades optimizer tool. I have been wanting to rebuild my Nishak for quite some time, so this is, you know, probably the best time to do it. So what we're going to do is we're going to go balanced mode. I'm going to go to sets, and I'm going to try to include a pinpoint set. Now, what's nice about bomb champions is you don't need to worry about crit damage. You don't need to worry about, like, anything like that. So let's go ahead and go to stats. For stats, I would like him at... Not sure what just happened there. It overrode what I did for some reason or another. So let's go back down here to pinpoint. At least a 4-piece set, please. Stats, I would like him to be at least 250 on the speed. And then... sorry, change goal. We want this to be balanced. There we go. Stats. Crit rate, we don't care about really at all. Priority is going to be highest attack. Second will be accuracy. Third will be speed. Configure, include, except priority 5. Let's go ahead and do that. This one may take a while, again, just due to the lack of pinpoint that we have, essentially. I noticed that all of my pinpoint accessories are not really rolled up for this faction either, so unfortunately it's going to be trying to pull pinpoint main pieces, so like your, you know, your chest plates and gauntlets and stuff like that, which are significantly weaker. Like, I don't have very good pinpoint. This would be a very good amulet for him, though, so it all comes down to, like, you know, just lack of silver, essentially. We'll take a look and see what this returns, though, and then kind of go from there. There's obviously some decent relics that you can put on this guy as well, which I don't have, unfortunately. So there's, specifically when it comes to, like, gemstones, there's ones that increase, like, bomb damage and stuff like that, which are obviously super strong for a bomb champion. Go figure, right? Let's take a look here. So if we just pause... Yeah, it's giving us like 5,200 attack. It's giving us 262 speed. It's giving us 406 on the accuracy. I think that's actually a pretty viable build, in all honesty, because a lot of times, essentially, champions that have high resistances aren't built in stone skin, if that makes sense. Like, obviously with some exceptions, but for the most case, champions that are built inside stone skin, they're really just relying on that 50-50 anyways. And I know this because, for example, my Crixia doesn't have incredibly high accuracy. So if we go and take a look at Crixia, her resistance goes to accuracy as well, I believe. So increases her accuracy by 1 for every 2 resistance she has. So she has 507 resistance, so she's going to have an extra 252 accuracy from that, which means that her total accuracy is at around like 400. Which, you know, just really isn't much, but she's still able to essentially lock out champions with, you know, not really any question. So the resistance meta is all but dead, essentially, is what we're getting at here. Obviously, with my Nishak as well, another huge thing will be getting him like 2-star Awakened, because that'll just give that extra, you know, 750 attack, which will be pretty crazy. So let's go here. Let's go equip in-game. This is how we're looking. So we will have him built out inside 1 stack of pinpoint, which will be pretty decent. 5,100 attack, 262 on the speed. And then obviously we can kind of upgrade some of this as well. Let's go ahead and let's equip that. It would be pretty good to go ahead and test him. So let's see if we can find some sort of a tanky-ish team to run him against. Let's go ahead and run him against the same exact team, actually. And the cool thing about running your Nishak with like some sort of, for example, a tiramisu, is that in this case at least she's going to be able to give him additional intercept stacks as well as boosting his turn meter, right? So super useful. So let's go ahead and do that. Let's go ahead and do the AoE. Boom, we get the bombs on everybody, and then boom, we do actually go ahead and get the decreased duration on everybody as well. Now we're doing some decent damage. They're doing like 40k per pop, which is pretty nice. Everybody sits down. It's just the Regash left, but I don't think he'll really be able to do much to us on his own, unfortunately for him. And then, of course, having a Nishak that's actually built decently fast means that, you know, we can actually cycle our turns and stuff like that too, which is pretty nice. So that is certainly helped, though, by having, obviously, Crixia and Lamassu and Arbiter on this team and all those sorts of things. So we'll get the increased attack. We'll cycle through our turns again. We got the 2 bombs placed out there. We get weak hit on the decreased duration. Let's go ahead, boost his turn meter, reset his cooldowns again, see if we can't get some more bombs on the Regash. We don't. He dies, but now the Regash should just be dead after this next turn. Arbiter's going to kill him, actually. Let's see if there's like a tankier team that we can fight, right? So, I'd like somebody that's going to be in Stone Skin. I think at least some of the champions on this team are going to be in Stone Skin, most likely the Freya. Nishak would be super strong if you're able... Nobody's in Stone Skin, by the way. Nishak would be super strong if you're able to run him with, obviously, an increased accuracy. So, like, Lady Mikage is a perfect partner for him as well. And then, even without the boost from Lamassu, we're still fast enough to essentially just get the bombs out there on everybody, which is pretty crazy. So, being able to actually pick Nishak inside the arena now is going to be huge. I don't know why Crixia just smacked him there, but whatever. Crixia, or not Crixia, sorry. Oh god, what is her name? Mesomel, there we go. Mesomel is an absolutely disgusting champion, in all honesty. So let's go ahead, we'll metamorph here, we'll reset the skills. Which wasn't enough to actually give us anything back, but she's about to go down anyways, just because, you know, obviously his... he's got bombs on him, and his turn meter's almost full. We'll go ahead and revive the Nishak just for funsies. Go ahead and get the increased attack. Go ahead and decrease their turn meter. I just want to see if Nishak can get another turn. Probably not, though. Yeah, the Mesomel just gets bombed out, essentially. So we're doing about 50k there. Let's go ahead and maybe a team like this will be running some Stone Skin. This is an insane team, so it's not really that insane, though. There we go. Now we have some Stone Skin. So we have Siegfried in Stone Skin. Let's go ahead and do this. And then we'll go ahead and do this. Crixia is so incredibly strong against Siegfried, by the way, because obviously he can't metamorph willy-nilly. He has to do it, you know, when everybody dies. So making it so that he just can't do that essentially is so incredibly strong. We'll go ahead and reset, boost Nishak, cleanse. We'll go ahead, try for the bombs again. Get more bombs out here on people, essentially. Everybody's detonated. Everybody's dead. That's pretty awesome. Let's refresh and see if there's maybe some tougher teams that we can go against with this as well. Team like this might be pretty tough, actually. I might not win this. They might be faster. They have a 6-star Awakened Armands with Intimidating Presence. They aren't faster, though, so we'll go ahead and take it. We will put the block buffs up here as well. True Fear is going to help us a lot. Crixia comes in. Even if we get weak hit on the Kymar, which does happen, there's a very decent chance that the True Fear will proc. We get the bombs out there on everybody except the Duchess, so the Duchess is just a little bit too much resistance, essentially. And of course she does get the revive off, which is a bit of a shame. The one thing about Duchess, though, is with her revive, she doesn't have any sort of block debuffs or anything like that, so we can just come in, cycle in again, get another turn. This is just quickly turning into a Nishak showcase, by the way, apparently, because I finally have him built for PvP on my account, and I want to show him off. If you were just here for the gear cleansing, I think, or not cleansing even, but the building, that's going to be the last build that we do on this video. So, you know, feel free to leave if that's all you were here for. That being said, though, we'll go ahead and just keep resetting them. Keep trying to bomb down that goddamn Duchess that has a lot of resistance. She does now have 1 bomb on her at least, so we can get some damage out there. She's very slow, which kind of works in our favor. Obviously, a nice little increase accuracy or something would do numbers on this team, so that would be awesome. But we do also have like the shields going up on her and stuff, which is super annoying. She's also strong affinity against us, which doesn't help. That being said, though, this is like a 50-minute video. If you've made it this far, thank you so much for watching. Make sure you get those re-gears done. Let me know down in the comments who you end up re-gearing during this 3-day period. And, you know, if you beat some new dungeons or something like that, I'd love to hear about it. As always, thank you guys all so much for watching. I'll see you next time.